Why is it that the woman who stares deepest into your soul is often the one who clouds it most? You see her softness and let your guard down. You fall for her sweetness, thinking it means safety, but behind the warmth is calculation. Behind the smile, a test you don't see coming. Machiavelli warned, "What seduces without clarity devours without mercy." He didn't fear women, he feared men who didn't understand them. In this video, you'll learn the truth he died for, how to stop worshipping illusions and start mastering yourself. If you've ever loved a woman more than your own mind, this is your reckoning. Stay sharp. 1. The danger of unexamined desire. She didn't lie to you, she didn't need to. You lied to yourself. Every time you mistook attention for affection, softness for safety, mystery for depth. The danger wasn't her silence. It was how you filled it with fantasies she never confirmed. You weren't seduced by her. You were seduced by your own projections. And that is the most dangerous kind of blindness. Marcus was 31, finance consultant, smart, calm, charismatic in that quiet way women say they crave. He met Clara at a networking dinner, brilliant, charming, magnetic in all the right ways. She asked him questions, remembered small things. She smiled in a way that made him feel chosen. Within weeks, he was texting daily, planning weekends, integrating her into his world. She never asked for it. She just didn't stop him. She mirrored his pace but never matched it. When he opened up about childhood insecurities, she leaned in, but when he expressed deeper commitment, she leaned back. Not with words, but with slower replies, shifting eyes, and sudden busyness. He didn't protest. He tried harder. He thought, if I love purely, it will be enough. But it wasn't love. It was a performance. And he didn't even know the script she was watching. One night, after weeks of distance, she texted, "I think we want different things." No fight, no closure, just absence. He stared at the screen, not heartbroken, but humiliated, because deep down he knew she never lied. He just never asked the right questions. Machiavelli didn't teach through answers. He taught by forcing men to confront illusions. In his Republic, he warned of the unexamined life. But even more dangerous is the unexamined desire. A man who does not question his longing becomes ruled by it. He builds his identity around the idea of her, not the reality. And when the illusion cracks, so does he. Desire unexamined is not romantic, it is religious. You worship the feelings she triggers, not the truth she hides. You offer your heart like a ritual, hoping it earns you a place at her altar, but you never noticed. She was never kneeling. She was never even watching. Soon, you'll see why the hunger to be chosen is the quickest way to be discarded. He thought affection was an answer. She saw it as leverage. He moved faster. She drifted. He confessed. She calculated. And when he mistook her echo for intimacy, she vanished. Pause today. Don't text her first. Don't chase the clarity she hasn't earned. Let silence confront you. Because what comes next isn't just knowledge. It's the weapon that protects your soul from begging for illusions. Which one exposed a habit you didn't know you had? Comment the shift you're about to make, and the next part reveals why even your deepest love can be used against you if you don't understand her alignment with power. Don't miss what's coming. 2. The tyranny of feminine approval. She never told you to change. She never asked you to kneel. But you did. Slowly, silently, willingly. Every time she smiled with half interest, you worked harder. Every time she pulled away, you offered more. Not because she demanded it, but because you craved her approval more than your own peace. And that's how the leash wraps around your neck without a single word. Daniel, 38, senior architect. Disciplined, composed. Built 3 buildings before 35 and never missed a deadline. He lived by plans, projections, and blueprints. Until he met Elise. She was brilliant, quick with her praise, sharper with her distance. She never said she needed him. She just made him feel like he was almost enough. He adjusted, skipped gym to cook for her, took on extra projects to impress her, laughed at jokes he didn't find funny, said yes when he meant maybe, and when she pulled away he bought gifts. When she ignored him he explained himself. She's just overwhelmed, he told himself. She needs reassurance, but she didn't need anything. She was simply watching how fast he'd bend, how much he'd sacrifice to stay relevant in her eyes. One night, after a long day, he brought dinner to her apartment. She answered the door with a polite smile and said, "I just don't feel the same anymore." "I'm sorry." That was it. Not a scream, not a betrayal, just a reminder. When your worth depends on being accepted, you've already lost. He sat in his car that night, food untouched, engine off, and realized he didn't love her. He loved who he became for her. And that version of himself? It disgusted him. Machiavelli called it the tyrant soul, a life ruled by desire, not hunger for food, but hunger for validation, for approval, for being seen by someone who never agreed to look. He warned, "What is not examined will enslave you." The tragedy is not that she left, it's that he handed her the sword and asked to be cut. You think you're choosing her, but what if your every move has been nothing more than a strategy to be chosen? He thought chasing her attention would earn her affection, but all it earned him was silence. He traded dignity for maybes. He traded strength for smiles. And when she saw he needed her more than he needed self-respect, she stopped needing him at all. Don't initiate tonight. Don't double-check if she saw your story. Let the space do what your words never could. Restore the imbalance, because what's coming isn't about revenge. It's about reversing the pull. Which one hit you the hardest, and why? Drop the number below. The one that felt like it was written for you. And the next part? It shows why women don't fall for comfort. They select power, and if you don't embody it, she won't just walk away. She'll never even look back. 3. Woman's nature as a selector. She didn't change. You just stopped being the version of yourself that attracted her. And when you did, she did what nature designed her to do. She observed, recalibrated, and moved on. Not out of cruelty, out of instinct. Because unlike you, she was never falling. She was selecting. Liam was 29, freelance designer, moved to Berlin for a fresh start. New city, new clients, new confidence. That's where he met Sophie, calm, well-read, magnetic in that effortless way. She liked his independence, his creative fire, his quiet refusal to impress. He didn't chase, and that made her lean in. For 3 months, they were electric. She'd cancelled plans just to spend more time, sent playlists, wrote notes, bragged to her friends about him. Liam thought he had finally met someone who saw him, but slowly he shifted. Without knowing, he began orbiting her life, pushing deadlines to fit her schedule, dimming his opinions to avoid conflict. He mistook harmony for connection. The change was subtle, but she felt it. Her texts grew shorter, eye contact slipped. One night she pulled away during a kiss and said, "I don't know why, but something feels off." It wasn't a betrayal, it was biology. She didn't stop loving him, she stopped selecting him, because the moment he abandoned himself, she lost the reflection that drew her in. Machiavelli urged men to examine their lives, but few examine their longing, their need to be needed, their fear of being alone. And when those go unexamined, women sense it. Not with malice, but with accuracy. The same way a falcon detects weakness in the wind, she detects it in your presence. Because selection isn't romantic, it's strategic. Do you disagree with any of these? Challenge it below, with logic. We read everything. She doesn't erode you with hate, she outgrows you with clarity. You change shape to fit her, and she moves towards someone who doesn't. Up next, how her silence isn't distance, it's data collection. And it's sharper than anything she'll ever say. He thought loyalty would bind her. She saw adjustment. He thought pleasing her would deepen the bond. She saw concession. He lost himself for her, and she left not because he changed, but because he stopped evolving. Don't shift your boundaries today. Don't ask how she feels. Ask how you stopped being the man she once respected. Because what you'll learn next isn't about her nature. It's about how to stop betraying your own. The next part exposes the trap even strong men fall into, the illusion of love as destiny. Miss it, and you'll keep surrendering your identity to a gaze that never promised to understand you. 4. The illusion of love as madness. It didn't feel like madness at first. It felt like purpose, like destiny wrapped in perfume and skin, like meaning finally given a face. But slowly, that clarity turned into obsession. And that obsession, it started calling itself love. That's how it begins, not with fire, but with surrender disguised as connection. Ethan, 35, creative director, spent a decade building a name, crafting campaigns, mastering every detail. But love? That was the one thing he didn't analyze. He dove head first. Her name was Lily. She was soft-spoken, intense, almost mythical in how present she made him feel. Their chemistry was immediate. So was his unraveling. He stopped going to the gym, skipped deadlines, flaked on friends. But it wasn't sacrifice, it was love. He texted first, called twice if she didn't answer. He told himself, this is what devotion looks like. But it wasn't devotion, it was dependency. When she grew distant, he wrote her letters. When she pulled away, he offered more, and still she slipped further. One night, in a half-lit kitchen, she whispered, I feel like I can't breathe around you anymore. That night, Ethan stood frozen. Not angry, not broken, just numb. Because deep down, he knew. He didn't lose her, he lost himself long before. And that was the price. He surrendered his sovereignty for a story. One where love was supposed to save him. It didn't. It consumed him. Machiavelli warned in Phaedrus, when love is ruled by appetite and not reason, it becomes madness. Divine, maybe, but madness still. The soul, he said, becomes like a wingless creature crawling in circles, obsessed with the source of its hunger. You call it romantic, but it's just repetition of a man chasing a shadow, confusing it with salvation. Which one of these cost you the most, personally? Drop a one-line story below. No names, just truth. How many are still crawling, thinking they're flying? He thought sacrificing everything for love would make him whole. She saw a man unraveling to please her, and when he had nothing left but devotion, she walked away, not because she wanted less, but because she needed strength he could no longer provide. Pause. Look around. Has your mission dimmed since she entered your life? Because if so, what follows is a truth you can't unsee. He believed being all in made him real, but it only made him easier to leave. He forgot his discipline, lost his edge, and placed his purpose on her altar, hoping she'd reward it with presents. But she didn't want to be worshipped. She wanted to feel a man who couldn't be shaken. Tonight, don't write the long message. Don't reread the thread. Don't chase her validation and call it depth. Instead, ask, who were you before she entered the frame? Because in the next part, we strip away the mask of love and reveal what she's really seeking underneath. Miss what's next, and you'll keep crawling in circles, mistaking infatuation for truth and sacrifice for power. 5. Women's alignment with security. The moment you surrendered your mission to win her approval was the moment she stopped respecting you. Not because she's heartless, but because you revealed a truth she couldn't ignore. That your center isn't solid, that you'd trade your crown for comfort. She may smile at your softness, but she doesn't submit to it. A man who bends his truth to buy safety becomes invisible to the very woman he's trying to impress. Dominic was 33, product manager, well-spoken, always agreeable. He met Julia at a leadership conference. She loved how thoughtful he was. So he adjusted, pulled back on his ambitions so she wouldn't feel intimidated, texted her updates to keep her secure, shared every fear to prove he was emotionally available. At first, she praised him for being refreshingly open, but then she grew distant, cold. One day after dinner, she looked at him across the table and said, "You're amazing, but something's missing. I don't feel that edge." He smiled, but inside something collapsed. He realized he'd spent months trying to prove he was safe, and in the process he erased what made him magnetic, not his warmth, but his will. Machiavelli taught that women align not with ideas, but with what ensures survival. That isn't cruelty, it's biology. You don't fault a compass for pointing north, so why fault her for choosing strength over softness? Her instincts don't ask, "Is he kind?" They ask, "Will he keep me alive? Socially, emotionally, economically?" If your presence doesn't signal power, her instinct doesn't register loyalty, it registers risk. In 30 seconds, I'll show you how quiet strength signals protection without saying a word. He thought vulnerability was intimacy. She saw it as instability. And when she stopped feeling protected, she started looking elsewhere. So ask yourself, are you leading her or asking her to lead you? Tonight, stop over-explaining. Don't reassure, don't defend. Let her feel the tension of your steadiness and test her response. What I'll show you next isn't detachment, it's how to stay rooted while she spirals, and why that makes you unforgettable. Which strategy do you wish your younger self had known? Comment it, like you're writing to someone still stuck in the old cycle. The next part reveals the fatal cost of giving your power away. The cost of unexamined masculinity. Miss it, and you'll keep offering your soul to those who only came to borrow your strength. 6. The cost of unexamined masculinity. The moment he felt lost without her gaze was the moment he stopped being a man and started becoming a mirror. Not a leader, not a presence. A mirror. Shifting, adapting, reflecting, erasing. He called it connection, but it was submission. Quiet, subtle, dressed in good intentions. And it happens not in grand betrayals, but in quiet trades. Clarity for closeness, edge for approval, truth for tenderness. Ethan, 36, architect, grounded, sharp. His colleagues admired his conviction, his clients his vision. But when he met Ava, something shifted. Not suddenly, slowly. He started rearranging meetings to match her rhythm, skipped the gym because she missed him, smiled through her micro-cuts to keep the peace, gave up small boundaries in the name of big love. At first it felt romantic, intimate, adult. But one night, as he held her hand across the table, she asked gently, "Do you even miss who you were before me?" He paused, smiled, but her eyes didn't follow. They didn't glow, they scanned him like a man she couldn't quite admire. That night, alone at his desk, the screen glowed but the designs didn't come. His hands, once decisive, hovered, and he realized he hadn't been building, he'd been dissolving, layer by layer. Ava didn't leave immediately, but she did start fading. Colder kisses, delayed replies. One day, she simply said, "You're incredible, but I don't feel drawn to you anymore." And Ethan didn't argue, because somewhere deep down, he agreed. Machiavelli believed the soul had 3 parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. The highest man lives where reason leads, but when appetite, emotional, sexual, social, takes the throne, the man dissolves. Not into her, but into his longing for her. He doesn't follow her. He follows the fantasy of being completed by her. And that makes him predictable, soft, replaceable. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear this right now. It could change their life. In 30 seconds, I'll show you why being emotionally generous without emotional structure doesn't attract, it repels. He thought surrender would bring them closer. She interpreted it as weakness. And when respect left, so did desire. So ask yourself, when did your presence last feel like a standard, not an offer? Here's your first corrective move. Stop anchoring your worth in her comfort. Stop tiptoeing around truth to maintain her mood. Speak less. Stand firmer. Let silence reveal what needs to be seen. What I'll show you next isn't emotional distance, it's disciplined depth, forged by clarity. The next part ties every law, every collapse, every awakening together. The conclusion isn't optional. It's the moment the mask finally falls. Skip it, and you'll stay trapped in the loop. Overgiving, overthinking, overlooked. This is where it all connects. Machiavelli didn't ask men to reject love, he asked them to examine what it does to their soul. You weren't born to orbit her moods. You were born to command your mind, to see through the illusion, hold your edge, and choose from clarity, not hunger. Every desire you've exposed, every time you bent to be liked, that wasn't love. That was self-abandonment. But now you see. Power is not found in performance, it's in restraint, in reason, in the calm refusal to kneel before what once controlled you. If this video cut through the noise, share it and subscribe, because here you don't just learn, you remember who you were before you forgot your mission.